Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We will be on right after this song.
Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Good old boy was treated shitty, running, flying, need no pity. Family life was blowing up, not enough love for my cup. Trying only to look up, even as a baby I knew what's up. Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Good old boy was treated shitty, running, flying, need no pity. Family life was blowing up, not enough love for my cup. Trying only to look up, even as a baby I knew what's up. Ran away for college, trying to obtain that knowledge. For a baby boy Thomas to know himself as flawless. I was growing up in bondage, Tourettic, mind unpolished. Locked it up like a hostage, cause I was constantly admonished by my family, by my friends. I'm the weird kid yet again. Piss me off and I demolish you. Nothing but the honest truth, it will just astonish you. Put you in a lock or two, only keep a couple few people close to me, but who? That is for me, not you. But please know that I love you too. Keep you in my heart and mind, and I will always root for you. Succeed and love your life, even get a husband, wife. Just here to make art for the soul, express my strife. But if I find a goddess, then I gotta be honest. I'll give her my entire heart, no need for being modest. All these thoughts driving through this town, it's honestly ironic. When I left at 18, said I'm never coming back, I promise. Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Ghetto boy was treated shitty, running, crying, need no pity. Moved on back and stuck here now, hoping things and change were wow. Post-storm leaders made a vow, then lie and steal and stay highbrow. Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Ghetto boy was treated shitty, running, crying, need no pity. Moved on back and stuck here now, hoping things and change were wow. Post-storm leaders made a vow, then lie and steal and stay highbrow. Panama City politicians always clown. After Hurricane Michael, they left us all to drown. 5 million stole from FEMA, yeah, they thought they'd get a crown. Good old boy syndrome is the only party in this town. Kick them out of office, tear the entire system down. Charge $500 a month with wires, lay up on the fracking ground. No power, no phone, but we're paying for it anyway. Set their ass on fire, profits over people is the way. Burn them all down, take our money back, let them pray. Feed them to the fishes and the sharks up in the bay. Take this fight national, those phonies always stray from doing what the people want. They just look to prey on our fears and feed us lies through propaganda every day. Set us against each other so that we just fray and weaken our defenses. Yes, this is their play, so vote them out of office and please don't forget to spay.
This is Thomas Tourettic reminding you to please spay and neuter your politicians by voting them out of office and petitioning for term limits in the Senate and Congress. God bless America.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, live streaming directly into your homes and phones via Facebook and HWWS WebTV channel on YouTube. Welcome to episode 20 of Lights, Thunder, Action. I'm Thomas Carter Rochester, a.k.a. the Son of Dale.
And I'm David Thompson, a.k.a. Yes, we've made it to episode 20, and coming up on today's show, we have an update for the Tournament of Trilogies, where you guys get to vote on what the next trilogy we will be doing. We have played Avengers Beta, the Marvel's Avengers game coming out next month. We both played the beta. You'll be hearing our thoughts very soon on that. And finally, our final segment of today, Trilogy of Trilogies. We begin Star Wars, the original Star Wars trilogy with Star Wars A New Hope. Thomas, how you doing, man?
I am spectacularly exhausted. As you know, I spent all weekend playing Marvel's Avengers Beta to review it on today's show, and I also spent every other hour that I was awake and not doing that on HarleyCon yesterday, which was an amazing day. And I just really wanted I just want to shout out everybody that came in and showed the love to us all. From the bottom of my heart, I truly appreciate the opportunity to spread love, strengthen camaraderie in the nerd community, and spend the entire day unscripted and with all of you. And David actually made an appearance just to
Not
drop.
really.
You made an appearance. You made not just an appearance, a ripple effect on that panel.
Oh, really? I dipped. I was in there, dropped the bomb, and then left.
You literally dropped the bomb, and everyone was like, because they were like, "Oh wow, he was serious. He just said good night," and I was like, "That's David." He wanted to see Man of Steel 2. He hopped in, and we talked about it for like a couple minutes right after. You dropped a big old boulder in the water, and ripples went around everywhere. David, how are you, bro? How was your weekend?
I'm doing well. I actually just moved into my new apartment here. You see, these are the new digs. This will be the regular setup. I have this this is a Spider-Man poster, but it's not really well lit. But when it is well lit, it's like glass, so it reflects really badly. So I really want to make it so you guys can view that, but I'm working on it. So right now, Spidey's in the dark, but maybe at some point he won't be. But yeah, busy weekend. I worked. What day is today? Oh, I worked yesterday. Yeah, moved in the last couple days, and today I'm kind of being able to rest and super excited playing the beta, obviously, catching up on all this fun news we have coming up. So yeah, it's been also kind of a tiring weekend, but I'm happy we're here today and talking about all this good stuff.
Yes, and really quick, I see a lot of people hopping in. Terry McIver is watching with us. Kyle Nunez, Mama Thor. Derek Schaefer, welcome. Joseph Lucanti, Zepp, welcome to the show. If you're just now joining us, we're going to be diving into Marvel's Avengers Beta video game in just a moment, as well as reviewing Star Wars A New Hope. But before all that, David, where can everyone find the audio version of this podcast?
Yeah, guys, so if you guys can't catch the live show here on Facebook or YouTube, you can. We post normally about 48 hours or less. Are you good there?
I burnt my tongue.
We post the audio version of this show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. They're all available there, episode 1 through 19 right now. Episode 20 will be available very soon after this episode. So yeah, go check out those. If you can't watch us live, if you're driving, working out, our audio podcast version is available at those 3 places. Thomas, what else?
You, as I said at the top of the hour, you can also find us live streaming directly to our Facebook page right here at Lights Thunder Action Show, as well as the HWWS WebTV channel on YouTube, where we have a litany of content available for you, not just us with Lights Thunder Action or Life of Thor, but everybody else, Reels and Heels, JBauerArt, Saturday Morning Cartoons, Nerd Culture. I'm not remembering everyone, but those are just there's a small sample of an iceberg that you can take in, and that really is it's a good family. We have a lot of fun, and we were all involved in HarleyCon, but there was not a lot of debating yesterday. I mean, there was one debate, but there wasn't a battle. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
I miss battles, so that means we have to dive into a battle. And that would be the Tournaments of Trilogies. And after last week, if you remember last week, it was Jurassic Park versus John Wick. I say John Wick because Jurassic Park won with a hefty victory. And I won't even lie to you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm surprised by how much Jurassic Park won by.
Yeah, this was pulling up the win.
Significant win. David, did you anticipate this as I pull up the stats?
No, not really. I think especially after John Wick's performance against Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, I was expecting, I think because John Wick is such a new, fun trilogy and just movies that everyone seems to like, it's very kind of mainstream in 2020 these days, and then we're getting a 4th one, all these things. I thought it'd have a little bit more legs and it'd be a little more competitive against a Jurassic Park, where I don't think the whole trilogy of Jurassic Park is as beloved as like some other things, I guess, out there, but I guess more so than John Wick because it pretty much bulldozed it. It wasn't that close. What was the final count?
121 for Jurassic Park, 70 for John Wick. And now, you know, ladies and gentlemen, it means I have to rattle off some stats for you. Jurassic Park has ended a 2-week skid, their streak of 2 losses is now over. They're on a winning streak, baby. 1-0. That's all you got to worry about moving forward. It lost to Star Wars by nearly 2 times the vote count, and then it defeated John Wick by 51 votes. John Wick is after defeating Spider-Man by 25, votes. It lost by 51 to Jurassic Park, but it also is the first ever franchise to receive the exact same amount of votes in a succeeding poll. 70 votes. 70 votes, both on its last adventure, which was a win against Spider-Man here.
Yeah.
And then this week it had 70 again. So consistency from John Wick, which is, to be fair, that is kind of what we expect from John Wick, a consistent number of deaths.
Yes.
Probably about 70 per film. But that actually leads us to this week. It is Indiana Jones, a 1 seed versus Godfather, a 6 seed. And that is live for you, ladies and gentlemen, right now on our Facebook page, which I am posting that link for you all right here and right now. You can go and vote now, or you can wait till later. Nice. It is up to you. Freedom. Yep. Let's see who wins this week's battle, and whoever wins goes on to face Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park, which number 1 is fracking amazing. I think we all can agree. Number 2, I like number 2. I don't think I've ever seen all of number 3 in a row, so we'll see how everything shakes out.
Yeah, go vote, everyone.
Go vote. Get out there and vote. Propaganda. Anybody else hopping in? Yeah, yes, Ricky Vang. Hello. You're a cool name. You have a cool name. I apologize. You're a cool
name.
You are a cool name. And we're trying to keep this show moving. We have a lot, very packed week of excitement. And that leads us to everyone's favorite segments of the day.
What the news?
All right, so we got a lot of news this week, including our review of Avengers Beta, which will be coming up. But to begin, let's start with movie theaters actually opening up. I'm saying that as a question, hopeful. It seems, we've had multiple reports now of both Regal and AMC, the 2 biggest chains in America of movie theaters, opening up. It was initially July and then pushed back to the end of the July. And now we seem to have some real plans in place for reopening in the United States. It seems like it's happening. So here we go. AMC is reopening its theaters with 15-cent tickets. So we've also talked about in the show since day 1, episode 1, we've been talking about AMC being in financial trouble. So this is a pretty interesting move that they'll be having movies that will be just, I don't know exactly the movies that they'll be playing, but you won't be going to see Tenet for 15 cents. It's like throwback movies you'll be going to go see for 15 cents. But anyway, so the AMC theaters are supposed to be opening. 600 U.S. locations are supposed to be open by the time Tenet hits theater September 3rd. Sorry, I can't read today. So that's pretty exciting, and it's kind of similar for Regal now. So Regal has also announced its opening date is August 21st. So very, very soon. That's next week, right? Yeah,
it is.
It's coming up. So, and they've announced, both theater chains have announced a lot of, safety, guidelines and things of that nature, where it's not just we're all just going and packing up a theater. So it's going to be minimum, like 50% occupancy. Masks are mandatory. At Regal, though, you can get popcorn and soda and stuff and then take off your mask when you're eating. So they're a little more, I forget what AMC's is, but they're a little more lenient with the masks while you're actually in the theater, which makes sense. I guess they could have started without, not allowing you to eat or anything, but normally in a movie theater, you're getting popcorn, and they make so much money off their concessions. It only makes sense. So yeah, we have all those things happening. Regal, you have to wear a mask in. They're doing a bunch of sanitizing. Minimum, you can't pack the theater anymore. And we have, big movies are coming out. We have Mulan coming out, which will be both, available on Disney Plus, the premiere tier or whatever it is. And then also in theaters, Tenet. New Mutants actually comes out a week from opening for Regal, August 28th. New Mutants will actually supposed to be hitting theaters, which is pretty good. So Thomas, all this good stuff, theaters opening up. So what do you think of the news? And then what's kind of your game plan? Like, what are you going to be up to with theaters opening back up?
So when the news dropped, I was very excited. I knew that it was going to be our leading story for the week. And I'm content with following the safety guidelines that they're gonna enforce upon us, I guess. That's considering that I'm assuming not a lot of people will be going to movies. I think I'll suffice.
Yeah.
But you know, the big thing to me is that 1 day promotion on August 20th. It's movies in 2020 at $19.20 prices, so 15 cents per movie. I saw a list of the movies that were going to be up. That's their opening day. But I can't find that list while you were talking. I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
It's
some classics.
It's some classics. It's basically whatever comes out on August 21st. They're just doing the same thing, a Thursday night premiere. And then the day after that, starting on August 21st, those older movies will be $5 to get in. And I think AMC is offering a special discount on concessions as well. I think I read. So that's very exciting. I don't have a Regal anywhere near me, so they can suck a fart. But I'm excited, and my game plan is I have to go like an hour away for the nearest AMC, and since my theater in town is not open, that's the closest theater I can get to.
Right.
So I will more likely than not have to choose a weekend and try and squeeze in 2 or 3 movies.
Yeah, like roll in on September 5th and just watch New Mutants and Tenet.
Well, maybe. I'm supposed to be traveling. We've spoken about this on the 29th. I have to go to Pensacola for something involving my car. And I'm hoping that on my way back, stop in at Fort Walton or Destin, whichever one is the closest to their AMC, and watch a couple movies because, you know, why not? It's been a long time. That'll be the day after New Mutants comes out, as well as I can probably watch. I can watch Inception in the theater, or Sonic is one of those movies available. So I might watch Sonic in the theater for the first time because that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, right.
So that was, you know, it's very exciting news. And it's nice to see showtimes being listed in the app and giving us a schedule for, you know, how to proceed with entertaining ourselves. You know who else has a fracking amazing schedule of entertainment coming up?
What is that, Thomas?
DC Fandome, man.
DC Fandome schedule is unreal. Not only in like the length, but also just the content of what's happening. So quick bit of a rundown of DC Fandome. So as probably most of you know, watching DC Fandome is basically they're going to be there, you know, over the internet, huge virtual fan event that they've been planning for months now that we've all been getting excited about. It's from DC, you know, shows, comics, movies, like it's everything DC for the most part. It's like a 24-hour thing. And it's going to feature over 100 hours of programming for fans to take in. So it's pretty unbelievable what they're planning. And here's just some highlights. So how to watch the Fandome in general is you have to go to the DC Fandome website. So it's not, you can't just, I think we talked about this where you can't just go on YouTube or Twitch to watch it. It's all going to be on that one website. So, you know, if you like that, hopefully you do. If you don't, I mean, I wish I could almost just go on YouTube just because I know like I have like a YouTube app on my phone or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't have like a Fandom website app. So anyway, there's gonna be 6 verses in the sense of like a Spider-Verse, not like against each other. Hall of Heroes, Watchverse, Uverse, Insiderverse, Funverse, and Kidsverse. And they all have their all unique theme. And I'm getting all this from IGN.com, by the way. They have a really good rundown on their website. We can link it, or you guys can check it out there, just DC Fandome at IGN. And they have a really good rundown of everything. And Hall of Heroes is really, in my opinion, the good stuff. It's definitely like their like top tier, you know, plans, I would say. Yes. Everything else is good too, especially I think Watchverse, because Watchverse is television. And I think if you've watched this show, you know me, I'm not super into the WB universe these days, but it is still like exciting that they'll have it there. So a little bit of a rundown just of Hall of Heroes before we kind of get into what we are most excited about. At the beginning of the day, 10 a.m. Pacific time, so it'll be that'll be 1 Eastern. 1 Eastern, Wonder Woman 1984, and then 1:30 Eastern. I won't have to say the times. Just Wonder Woman 1984 has a panel. The Warner Bros. Games Montreal. Warner Bros. Montreal has been working on a new Batman game because they made Batman Arkham Origins, if you guys remember. And I loved all those Arkham games, the 3 by Rocksteady. And then I really enjoyed Origins too. And they're working on a new one. And there's going to be a panel for that. And I'm super excited. Sandman Universe, Multiverse 101, introducing the Flash, the Suicide Squad panel. I'm excited about that. Legacy of the Bat panel. That looks cool. The Joker put on a happy face. Surprise DC Comics panel at 5 p.m. Eastern. Ooh.
Which we're going to speculate the balls out of that. The eyeballs, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to rip the eyeballs out.
The Snyder Cut of Justice League panel at 5:45 p.m. Eastern. Very exciting. Black Adam panel at 6 right after. Aquaman panel at 7. There's a panel at 6:45 that's to be announced, so that could be cool.
Yeah, which is important to note because that's 6:45 Eastern, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that is a prime time to reveal something, and that's also about the time Hall H's big stuff starts around that 4 o'clock hour. So that is,
and that's likely right before Aquaman.
Exactly. So. It could either be, hey, we're doing Aquaman 2, and this is all the deets. Or it could be just, hey, we're doing this new movie. Surprise.
Yeah. And then, so a few more things. 7:30 p.m. is Shazam panel. 8 o'clock is the new game we talked about last week by Rocksteady, Suicide Squad, with the official name now, Kill the Justice League is its official name. Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, 8 p.m. Eastern. And then rounding out the night for the Hall of Heroes is at 8:30 p.m. Eastern is the Batman panel. And there's a rumor they're going to show footage, and that is going to be awesome. One thing I wanted to note is, I think we're going to speculate. One thing I really want. No. Just one thing I wanted to point out, just looking at the schedule really quick, is some have a 15-minute gap, like a 15-minute slot, and some have a 30-minute slot. So the 5 p.m. surprise DC Comics panel, which I think we're all hoping, at least I'm hoping, it's a Man of Steel sequel, is a 30-minute slot. So that's going to be a bigger announcement. Whereas...
Oh, wait a minute. That is a 30-minute slot.
Correct. And the to be announced at 6:45 is only a 15-minute slot. So you would imagine that's not going to be as big of a deal. And on IGN's website, I mean, this could maybe be a little misleading, is that the surprise DC panel is in bold. So that almost makes it seem like it's going to be a more important deal. Like most of the items in bold are, mainstay movies that we already have developed and have, they're the bigger deals, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So Thomas, all that good stuff. Sorry for taking so long running that down. There's a lot here. It's DC Fandome next week. What are your thoughts? What are you most excited for? Let's hear it.
Oh, what am I most excited for? What a wonderful question. I'm just going to show you my schedule. That is very small. I am so sorry, everyone. So Wonder Woman panel. We, by the way, this is just letting you all know, we will not be doing our show next Saturday because he has to work, which means I have to research.
Oh man,
by watching all of these. Wonder Woman 84 is, starting my day off, and then we have the Montreal panel. Multiverse 101 introducing Multiverse 101 comes on right before introducing Flash. So I have a feeling that they're going to tie that in together. I think they're going to talk about, this is from the show, this is from the movie, the infinite crossover tied them together. And then introducing the Flash is going to open up Pandora's box. And everybody knows once you open, you can't put Pandora back in the box, man. She doesn't go back in the box. Suicide Squad panel, that surprise DC Comics panel at 4 p.m. Central, 5 Eastern. I think that has the potential to be. Okay, so the 30-minute one, I'm going to take this graphic down really quick. The 30-minute panel I thought about this because you and I were discussing already this week, Man of Steel 2. This would be the prime time to announce it, but I don't think they need 30 minutes to announce that at all.
Right.
I think that would be a 15-minute, hey, Man of Steel 2, it's
We're
coming.
doing this.
This is our creative team. Henry Cavill's back, or this guy's going to be Superman, you know, something along those lines. But I think that 30-minute panel, because of HBO Max, they have Justice League Dark series from J.J. Abrams in development, Green Lantern series in development from Greg Berlanti, Mark Guggenheim, and another one that I now can't remember off the top of my head. They have those new series coming out, or one of them might even be an original HBO Max original DC movie. Yeah, but it's going to be a very interesting, exciting time to see what they do, because as we were mentioning, it kind of feels like Marvel's, 2014, hey, here's our phase 3. It's really what this event feels like. And now with the schedule being released and what it is phenomenal. Some of the stuff that you didn't mention, just because it wasn't in that list, they're premiering two DC animated movies. One is Deathstroke, Knights and Dragons. Yeah. That is on my list. I don't know if I'll be able to make it. And the other is Superman, Man of Tomorrow. Both of those are brand new films. Man of Tomorrow is not even out on digital. I believe the Deathstroke one is. So that's world premieres that they're going to do live on the internet, which is cool. On my schedule, I've got the Snyder Cut of Justice League, which is that the title? Question mark.
I think they're supposed to announce the official title. So I think it's still a placeholder. That's going to be a huge panel.
Yes.
Like and that one could be like easily 30 minutes. Like that'll be a strong 30 minutes, I'm sure, because they have a lot I think they want to get to. And I think that's one of the more exciting things that they're doing that's coming out really soon, or at least like that we know is coming in the near future.
Yeah, and from this picture, it looks like it's got about 20 something minutes before the Black Adam panel. There we go. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Yeah, it's got about 25 minutes for the Snyder Cut of Justice League, and then it looks about 40 minutes for the Black Adam panel, and then the to be announced is 10 minutes before Aquaman. Yeah. So as you were mentioning, that could be something simple and quick. Ask Harley Quinn. That looks to be the DC animated Harley Quinn show. All the cast, it looks like, is going to be there. Right. Rounding out my list that I'm excited for, which if it's not on this list, I'm not excited for it. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. They sold me the game on the title. So, yeah, which is what I was hoping that we were going to be doing. And the studio. Oh, of course. I mean, the studio, obviously, but they had me at the title. Yeah. The Batman panel. And then luckily for me, I get to watch stuff about Titans, which just went, we'll talk about this in a moment, just briefly, the DC layoffs. But DC Titans is now going to be on HBO Max. Harley Quinn, they're having that panel with all the actors and stuff. That's going to be on HBO Max now. And then rounding out the last thing is Batman the Three Jokers, which comes out, I believe, in the week after DC Fandome. It's a comic book that's been in development for like 4 years now. Cool. And it's going to dive into the three different Jokers that exist within the DC Comics universe. Spoiler alert, if you didn't know that the Joker was not the same guy all the time, he's not the same guy all the time.
I will say one thing I wanted to point out is, what was it? Gosh darn it. What I was going to say is that I actually will be getting off work at about 2 Eastern time. So I'll only have missed, I'm going to miss the video game. Dang it. But I'll only miss the first couple. So that'll be good. And I'll be able to catch up really quickly, I'm for sure, on Twitter by you, like right when I get off. So that's exciting. I won't be missing too much. I'll be able to, watch it in the evening. I will say, like, what I'm most excited for is both video games, the Montreal Batman game and Rocksteady's Suicide Squad, and then also the Batman footage. I think could like that. I mean, they're ending the night with that. I feel like they're going to end on a real bang. Like they're going to want to, really finish off this grandiose, event they're planning with something really good and give us something that we could really get excited about and get some footage or whatever it'll be. I'm feeling some footage. I think we'll get something. I think we're gonna get maybe some story beats or something like that. So that could be really exciting. I think a lot of other stuff in there where, you know, Batman's actually filmed a good chunk of the film so far before, you know, COVID happened. So that's where and Justice League obviously has all of it's filmed. So those things where it's further in development is what feel like I'm more excited for in a way, outside of a Man of Steel 2 announcement, because like that's what I'm freaking out about. But like the actual solid ones we know we have, the ones that are more further in development, I'm more excited about, just because I think we're gonna get to see some stuff, and that was really excites me. Hearing about stories, if we get a Green Lantern, you know, announcement, that'd be amazing. But I'm really excited to actually see some footage, maybe hear more about the story, and get a few beats, or, you know, see more about some characters. So very exciting. It's going to be a very exciting day. But we also have some not so great DC Comics news if you want to move on.
Before we move on to the sad news,
yes,
I do want to mention that DC, the Twitter account of DC, the day this was all released, I believe, released a tweet, and it just says, "In brightest day and blackest night, in 9 days, DC Fandome takes flight," and it's a picture of Green Lantern. And then HBO Max Twitter account replied to it and said, "Cue me speculating wildly about what Green Lantern content we might see."
Oh my gosh, man.
And so that could be, you know, they're going to release information about the show finally, or, you know, Zack Snyder's also teased Green Lantern being in his movie.
Yeah,
we've got Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, right.
Making jokes about being Green Lantern, which for him could be both serious or making fun of it. It's super hard to tell.
Exactly.
And then he said, "I do anything that The Rock tells me to." And The Rock says, "You're Green Lantern, deal with it." And it's like, whoa, yeah. Okay. Like,
so Green Lantern's been really like picking up steam with the rumors. And I mean, we're going to see something. At this point, there's no way we don't, you know?
Listen, okay, this is actually not very well known. Green Lantern is one of my favorite DC characters.
Yeah.
Like, I just love it. Obviously, because I was a big fan of the Green Ranger, but Jon Stewart is like the altruistic version. Hal Jordan he's got his own take. Then you've got Guy Gardner, who's a total dick. You have multiple different Green Lanterns with different personalities, but it all comes down to that they get along because they have an immense amount of willpower to get the job done and help people. And I love that. You know, you can't get anywhere in life without some strong willpower. But speaking of strong willpower, we're going to have to like tone it down just a bit and talk about the sadness of Warner Media / AT&T / whatever conglomerate's in charge of these days. AOL. I don't actually honestly know. They've released essentially like half of DC Comics and they've, so the DC Universe app is gone now. They basically cut everybody who was working on that. And then DC Direct, which is a way to get your comics, I believe digitally, I don't remember the full, but DC Direct is now completely gone as well, which has been around for a long time, 20, 30 years, I think. And they're just not making enough money. So they've cut pretty much in half.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, David?
It stinks, you know, right? Like it's just not a good sign. I think it's kind of a sign of the times right now. I know reading, I had heard that like comic book numbers were down, you know, in the midst of this pandemic, which a lot of things are down. You know, it's not just comic books, but yeah. What's unsurprising to me is the DC universe just being basically absorbed by HBO Max, because that just seems like the general direction they're going, and they probably just figure they'd rather get more subscribers to HBO Max than having people decide or split. Sorry. So I think that it's the people getting laid off for DC Comics. That's really a shame, because that's kind of exactly what I said, a sign of the times. Like, we're seeing this happening across, you know, the world right now, and hopefully they can bounce back, and hopefully this isn't just like a permanent thing that'll last forever. Like, maybe there will be a resurgence at some point. Hoping for that. Hopefully we can help in that way by reading comics and doing things like that. So super cool, supporting people that are still there. But unsurprising that the shows and the DC Universe app, streaming service is all moving to HBO Max. That seems like a pretty obvious move by Warner Bros. Just to be like, hey, we don't need this side thing that I don't think what was a big deal for DC fans, but general public wise, no one's really getting DC Universe unless you're a big time DC fan. I don't have it. So I think this is a pretty, and not even a bad move in my opinion. Like the layoffs suck, but I'm happy. Like I don't have HBO Max, but I think just going to HBO Max is just, further building its library and giving DC fans more and more on HBO Max, where most people are going to have HBO Max. Like not most people, but a lot of people will.
Most people.
Exactly. Like most people. And a lot of people just have HBO and they just have HBO Max. So it's a lot of people will. So just having the DC content on there for those, I think it's a great thing. And maybe you'll probably even get more viewers being on HBO Max.
Yeah. The one thing that I'm really sad about with the DC Universe is it was not just shows, the catalog of TV shows, shorts, movies, all of that.
Yeah.
It also had back catalog of comics. So with it going away, I no longer have access to old DC comics and older Marvel comics. So that's a total bummer because that's what I use DC app a lot for, would be going back and reading certain comics from, the 80s, the 90s, whatever I was feeling that day.
Yeah.
Which is a total bummer and a downside, but it's good to see that it sucks for the people that lost their jobs big time, especially right now. But in the end, those creators now have free reign to create something entirely new, which is usually what happens after something like this. So I'm excited to see what everybody who just lost their jobs after they go through the grieving period, what kind of love and beauty they bring into the world through these trying times, and what kind of stories that lends itself to. Like we talked about at the beginning of this pandemic when we started this podcast, what is it going to do to movies and storytelling? This is just another aspect of that conversation. And I, for one, am going to support them. Speaking of people being supported, I just want to shout out everyone here in the comments. Stop it hitting stuff, Thomas. Ryan Permison from Nerd Culture, welcome. Hello there. My mom is still in the comments. Dustin Schaefer, Kyle Crook, Christopher Scott, thank you for joining us. We hope you're still watching. And I hope all of you have had a smashing good time leading up to this episode this week. You know what is a smashing good time, David? Like a smashing good time.
Literally smashing.
Marvel's Avengers Beta by Square Enix. Holy fracking poop, dude. When the trailer first came out, I was like, I'm excited, like cool. But then they showed like that opening stage and I was like, I don't know about how I feel about all this. And then the more that information came out, the more that it's created a groundswell underneath it. I'm going to dive into just really quick, just some what the game functions like. Yeah. If you've played Fallen Order, it's very much like Fallen Order, and which I guess was very much like Skyrim. Like they have various things it pulls from. It's got a Fortnite vibe to it in terms of challenge cards and ranking up and getting free content within the game itself. Yeah, and skins and all that. I mean, it's kind of like, it's not. This is just the beta. It's not the full game we're talking about, but it will have all that and like that sort of like upgrades and build yourself. But go on. Which is very nice. And then it's a sandbox video game for sure. Especially in the story missions, you're very constricted on what you can do. But then in the war table missions, it's expanded a little. Like the sandbox just gets much larger in those. Yeah. So that's where you'll get a little bit more open world abilities. And I've spent a lot of time going through that in the last few days. I guess in the last 24 hours, honestly, since I got it unlocked. But, David, before I dive into my deep and in-depth review, like what are your thoughts on it? What did you got to play it this weekend as well? What's your thoughts, Spider-Man?
Well, first off, I can't wait for Spider-Man to be in this game. And all the other DC or DLC characters that seem to be coming eventually. Have you not heard of like the other DLC characters? I think like
Yes.
Hawkeye and Ant-Man are confirmed. So that's exciting.
Yeah,
So,
like that.
and I hope there's more. Yeah. And then Spider-Man 2021, PlayStation exclusive, PlayStation for life. Anyway. So anyway, I think the game's really fun. Like you were kind of saying, like when I first saw it announced, I'm like, cool, like exciting. I love the Avengers. Obviously, anyone who knows me, I'm a big Marvel guy, big Avengers fan. And I'm like, cool. I remember thinking like, I don't like the way Cap looks, but I was just like, little nitpicks. But I'm like, looks fun. I hope it's actually fun to play and not feeling lesser than maybe some of these games like a Spider-Man PS4 or a Fallen Order that are really crisp, really detailed single player games. And it's not those games. It's not just a story mode where you play as one character. It's a story mode where you play as different characters, and then you can also play multiplayer and do other things. So it's actually pretty interesting the way it's laid out, like Thomas was going down, and you get kind of a taste of it in the beta. And honestly, you've definitely played more of the beta than I have, but just playing the beta, because you have to redo everything once you get it back. I was like, all right, I played it for maybe, I don't know how long I played it for so far. I might play a little bit more of it, but a lot of me was just kind of like, hey, all right, I'm in. I'm excited for the game to come out. I wasn't gonna I almost didn't want to like grind it too hard to be like, I won't want to like, I don't know, like to wear myself out on it. I just wanted to got in. It felt good. The mechanics of the game, the fighting style was pretty good all around. Like some characters like more than others, I think. Thor was really fun. I'm amped for Spider-Man to be in it, especially if it's actually the PS4 Spider-Man, like it's supposed to be him. It could just be a random Spider-Man, but
they've already said it's going to be in their separate universes, so it's going to be a new Spider-Man, but they're going to fit it into their game.
Right, that works. I mean, it honestly works because they are building a little narrative over in Sony with Miles Morales now getting his own kind of spin-off game from Spider-Man PS4. So it's all good. Just I think his abilities could be really cool and like his different stuff. And I think what's fun about the game, what I'm really, really excited for about the actual game that the beta's gotten me really excited about is just, grinding the story mode, getting through that, having a lot of fun, and then being able to upgrade your characters that you really like to play as and then play with them online with friends. Like that, I think, is where the game's really going to be at its best, I think, is just how you're able to, grind, get better, open up new abilities, get new skins, like that kind of room to grow and build in games. I think something that's so enticing for like gamers and gets you hooked so easily and makes you want to keep playing the game for a long time. Like after the story mode, I'll be like, all right, let's keep going. And I don't think the story mode's as long as like a Fallen Order or a PS4 Spider-Man because it isn't just a story mode. Like that's not all it is. There's so much more to this game. So anyway, bottom line, the beta has just got me actually all in on the actual game. I initially wasn't even sure I was going to get it when it first was going to come out, but now I'm just really, really excited. The story is pretty cool from what I've seen. It's an abridged version, I think, we get in the game, in the beta. So it'll be really fun to really dive into it once it comes out in September. So anyway, Thomas, your turn. Beta. Let's talk it.
We're going to alpha beta this all the way through. I just realized that Avengers is, could be alpha. Anyways, back to the spot. So I'm just going to, if I had to describe this game in a single sentence, it's Marvel's Avengers is dope. It's a lot of smashing. The whole game is a smash and grab style, but that's definitely how I play it. I just like to get in, beat the crap out of them, run away for a minute, regroup, go dive back in, just kind of very relentless in how I destroy the robots. It's kind of like Fallen Order in general actions and rewards, but they're unique to Marvel, especially the skill tree reminds me a lot of Fallen Order. And it's got a lot of Easter eggs that for each character. And each character has their own unique fighting style. So Hulk is amazing for just pure rampaging destruction. A lot of everything you run into with Hulk pretty much breaks because he's the fracking Hulk. He's a lot of fun. His if you've ever played a Hulk video game from the 2003 when that movie came out, it's very similar to that. And why would you change his fighting style? Miss Marvel, Camilla Khan. So in the story mode, you get to open with A-Day, the opening level, and you play with Thor, Iron Man, Black Widow, Cap, and Hulk, and you get to test them all out. That's all really of them, fun. And it's so much fun. And out of all of them, Thor is definitely my favorite, simply because of his range is not limited. The hammer just goes until it literally goes until it stops. So if there's an open line of sight, theoretically you can hit something from hundreds of meters away. And then he's got the power to fly in and beat you. He can hover, he can fly, he can run, he can jump.
So cool when you throw it and then it swings back and it hits someone on the way back. It's such a good it's a great mechanic to the game.
It is, and you can hit somebody and leave them pinned against a wall, beat the crap out of people, and then pull it back in. It's just, he has a really unique,
he's a dope character
set of fighting style. But in the game after that, you play as Hulk and Camilla Khan for the most part. Or I'm sorry, Kamala Khan. I apologize.
I can't say her first name.
It's okay. Miss Marvel, and this is the first time. This is honestly my first foray into learning about the character. And she's our point of view character in the game, which is amazing because she's a fan. So when she's geeking out, I'm also geeking out. And my favorite thing is she's got like elastic style powers.
Yeah, fantastic.
Mr. Fantastic-esque, Elastigirl-esque. She can actually, one of her special powers is embiggen, so she turns into a giant.
That part's cool.
And she's also got the ability to be a completely destructive character. And I use her a lot, actually, because she is like Hulk. She's small, she's nimble, she moves faster.
Yeah.
She can finesse things around. When you go over a gap, she can swing like Spider-Man, which I like a lot. A very unique set of...
her swinging thing is kind of like Spider-Man, where it's like you jump and then you can, grab onto a wall and pull yourself up. I'm hoping I don't actually love that mechanic just because, the problem is, so you hit A on Xbox, X on PlayStation for it, and it just doesn't feel as good as the this is the problem. PS4 Spider-Man, when you're swinging, feels amazing. And this one, it's not like swinging. It's just kind of grabbing and then pulling yourself up. And mine, maybe I'm just not good, or I'm not that great yet, but like I was having a hard time sometimes if it was kind of a reach or it wasn't super right in front of me. Like I could like see it, even though my indicator said I could grab it, it wasn't like I would fall or whatever. So it's not like the best, but it is cool. And I think maybe if I just get the hang of it better, and maybe there are some like swinging action, because it wasn't going through New York City as Spider-Man. So that's not the expectation to have with her, but there is kind of a bit of a Spider-Man-esque feel to it.
Yes, which made me excited to just come crash your house when Spider-Man gets released, in all honesty.
Down, bro.
Just to come like see what it's like playing with good old Peter Parker.
Yeah.
But in terms of Camilla Khan, it's Spider-Man-esque, but really it's kind of like the grappling hook from Fortnite. It reaches, it takes you, and then it launches you forward.
Yeah, or even like the grapple from like the Arkham games of Batman, but a little worse than that, I would say, because it's not as like
it was tough. It was tough. I would get frustrated using her, and just because of that. So the beta is free next week for all consoles. I pre-ordered it for Xbox, so I was able to play it this weekend.
Yeah.
It has Fortnite style challenges that it looks like they auto update about every 24 hours.
Yeah.
And that gets you challenge points to fill your challenge card up to level 40, which is 200 challenge points, by the way. So it gives you like a maximum number that you need to get to. And it gives you rewards for upgrades and new skins for free. It gives you resources to upgrade your material. It gives you the money to buy new things.
Yep.
And things like that. You can also buy skins in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And some of them are fan-freaking-tastic.
It's very like microtransactions. Like it's all there in this game where it kind of is a bit of an amalgamation between like a Fortnite or like an Apex or maybe even like a Warzone style game where it's like, those battle royale games where you're doing those microtransactions and you're getting battle passes and leveling up. And then like a Batman Arkham or an Uncharted but where you're playing as different characters and like Spider-Man, like those solo games where, you're just sitting down grinding the story, playing as one character. So there's like kind of that aspect to it where it is a lot of that, but then there's also the other side of it where there is the multiplayer and making transactions and buying skins and like wasting your money on a really cool skin, which I can't wait to do.
I'm gonna get all the Thor skins. I don't even care. Yeah,
I bet you are. I'll get all the Spider-Man skins. So, and the skins, I like getting different skins, especially in Marvel, because it's really exciting to me because you just seeing them actually like move around on the thing. Anyway, because in Spider-Man, you get a ton of skins like playing the game, and that was always so much fun. So it's kind of that same vibe to me. So I think it'll actually be fun to get different Iron Man skins, like really cool. I've seen like all black ones and stuff. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Anyway, I'm just super excited for this game, honestly.
Yes. So I'm gonna keep going through. Really try and wrap it up. They have, because this is where I stopped writing my review and started just making bullet notes because I was getting low on time. Yeah. So once you get to a specific level in the story mode, it'll give you the ability to go into harm room, which is an AI training zone, and it gives you in the beta. That's the first time that you really get to play with Iron Man unleashed in the same way that you fought with the others. Because in the opening level, it's teaching you how to use each character. So it's very, very sandboxed.
Yes.
But you need that in that level.
I liked it though. It felt like I was playing a movie.
Yeah, it and I agree. It felt like it was playing a movie, and it really did give you the idea. Okay, I can play with this way with this character, this way with that character. Yeah. Really fun.
And the transitions are cool when you go from one to the other. I like that a lot. Like, I'm really excited for that in the main story, going from one to the other, and like even maybe like comboing with yourself. I don't know. It's cool stuff like I think they could really mess around with, and I think we'll see more in the final product.
Yes, but I think you can train in that room as any character you want. I'm not 100%. It's just the beta, and really anytime that I go in there, when I went in there first, it made me Iron Man, even though I was Kamala Khan. But then later on, when you go into it, because it opens up the war table, which I'm about to get to in a minute. And once it does that, then you have 3 challenges in that harm training zone room, and you get to pick your character, and that's where it goes from story mode to multiplayer vibe, and that's where you start getting challenge points, and it becomes more like Fortnite, and that you're dropped on a map, and like literally they drop you out of the Quinjet. It's super dope. And you get to just start laying waste to good old-fashioned robot villains.
Yep.
So War Table, you mentioned it's like Warzone style games.
Yeah.
They call it Warzone. Warzone Avengers Initiative. And you get to try out each hero by replaying select war zones and take favorites and upgrade with skills and gear to their full potential. When on a mission for the War Table, my only critique is if I'm grinding, trying to do something specific, I'm just going to pick single player and just do it all by myself, so I don't have to worry about reining in other people that are going to just want to run through the map. Because right now I don't have that many friends on Xbox to want to play this game. But that's the money for that.
Yeah, and the PS5 and everything comes
exactly. The PS5's coming out, and I definitely want that for Miles Morales. So gotta be careful.
And good news with PS5, actually, if you do end up getting it at any point, is that it comes like when you get Miles Morales. Apparently, it comes with the full PS4 Spider-Man game.
Oh, sure.
So like maybe for around price, but like you'll be able to play that whole game on PS5 along with Miles Morales. So that is very exciting.
That is I didn't know that. That is very exciting.
Yep.
Okay, PS5. Shut up and take my body. So where the hell? Oh, I would just like to be able to. So there are certain things that certain characters can open up certain locations. So like if it's tech related, Iron Man or Black Widow has to do it. If you need a powerhouse, it's got to be Thor, Hulk, or the Hulkbuster armor with Iron Man. So it kind of limits you in what you can do. Yeah. And it would be nice to be like, you go here, you go there, hit it, but I don't know if we're going to get that. It is what it is. Today I dove deep into the War Table missions just so I could find that hidden Tundra base, which has been all over the internet and talks about a lot of great stuff that you get from it. And I played as Iron Man just to try a different tactic. And I found that his speed and ranged power attacks are incredibly fun. And the diversity in his weapons for power attacks is just straight out of the comics and the movies. He's got repulsors, lasers, and my favorite, missiles. The missiles do extra damage comparatively. And I pretty much wear down his intrinsic meter because I'm always just blowing people up. And what I did today is I ranked him up from like level 6, whatever he started with, to level 15. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. From level 1 to level 15 today, and from his power being like a 6 or whatever, all the way up to 19. He's one of my most powerful ones. And what I found while I was doing this is each character, I'm like I said, I play smash and grab kind of vibes, you know, very Thanos of me. But with Iron Man, what I found is I'm flying around. I'm the air support. When there's these little AI robots that are all airborne, I will just fly around and take them all out, like when he fought the Chitauri, and that's what it feels like when I'm doing that. Is when he's fighting the Chitauri in Avengers. And then when they need help, I just zoom in and boom, just drop missiles on them. Really fun, and you can. I wish there was a way to select the equipment that I'm finding, because most of it's like, oh, this will increase your melee, this will increase this. I'm just trying to boost my range and my defense, so that, you know, I'm not going to do much melee other than building up my, you know, trying to get more missiles. But in the skill tree, you can upgrade repulsors, lasers, and missiles. And all you got to do is hit left or right on the D-pad, and it instantaneously switches in it while you're in the middle of a fight. So you can go from repulsing right over to missiles and drop a missile. Like, it's super dope. And there's only one level of the skill tree open in the beta, but I've heard there's going to be more. Wow, can you hear that?
No.
Oh, okay. It's somebody's bass. I just felt it through everything.
Oh, really?
That was a lot of fun. And I found that Kamala Khan is currently built up for aggressive melee and aggressive defense. Hulk is nothing but defense and melee. Actually, I don't even think he's got much defense. It's just melee. I built up his ranged abilities because he can throw giant rocks, which is a lot of fun.
Thunderclap is so cool.
Yes, you know, their special abilities are amazing, and some of them, like, you know, you can put Hulkbuster on other people.
Oh, really?
And I've been trying to put it on Black Widow because I would love to see her use her hero stuff while in the Hulkbuster suit. Because then, especially on my team, because then you have Kamala Khan, who's a powerhouse, essentially. Hulk, who's a powerhouse. Once you have Hulkbuster, it's another powerhouse. So that just laying waste on the ground while I take out all the skinnies up top. As Iron Man. But when Thor comes in, baby, oh, you better believe I'm going to be the flying powerhouse. And you know, the only thing about the war missions are, after a while, they're predictable. They're still fun nonetheless. And the only level that I really have to conquer now is the villain level, because then you get a DNA key. Then I have to get the Tundra base to show back up again, so I can go through all that brouhaha. And once I do that, then I'll be able to get more fancy stuff on that level, because there were like 4 or 5 chests that I couldn't get into. What is my final verdict on the beta in this game? I hear everyone asking. I'm so excited. I did not think I was going to like it as much as I did. I'm a sucker for an amazing campaign, so I was frustrated yesterday when they, you know, it said finding Tony, like that's your next level, your next mission in the campaign, but it doesn't allow you to do that. And that was took me a while to figure out. There are very different war missions available, and I like that you can do it by yourself or with your friends online. And it really does bring an RPG style feel to it, which means specifically for me when I do my own missions and I'm just grinding to get stuff, because I'm gonna 100% this game, dude. I have to. I feel it deep in my loins that it has to happen. So I'm gonna knock this bad boy out 100%. I'm gonna be specifically tailoring characters to be exactly what I want my team to be. Which, you know, Ryan Permerson's in here. Yesterday for Harlequin, Nerd Culture did a DC debate where one person brought 5 characters minus the Trinity of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman from the Justice League, and then 5 characters. The other person brought 5 characters from the Legion of Doom, Sans. I actually don't remember who was. Lex Luthor wasn't allowed, and a couple others that I would have not used anyway, so it's okay.
Was that when I dropped the Man of Steel bomb?
That is when you drop the Man of Steel bomb was in there. They, basically what they did is exactly what I was already working on in the game. So it made it a really fun little thing to go from Marvel team building to DC team building in that debate. But I'm going to be doing specific things with specific characters. And it's going to be very exciting once, they release a lot more characters, because you can only have 4 at a time. So it really does limit you, and it's going to make you, the best part is you can change the loadout. So my goal is to have, power loadout, speed, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I got to give the beta, I'm just going to do like a 5-star rating. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars.
Nice.
It feels good. It's a lot of fun. It moves, and it does suck you in. I'm ready for September 1st, baby.
Yeah.
I'm ready for September 1st.
I've got the same feelings. I mean, I'd almost even give it a 5 or like higher, just because it's not even because I'm diving in as deep as you are, just because like this is building it's making me need, like, definitely getting the game. It's not, it's hitting, and I think that's why they released it almost, is because this game's been getting a lot more momentum lately, and this beta, I think, it's really helping it, where people are diving in. It feels smooth. It feels good. The fighting's fun. I think that's the biggest thing. Is the game fun? Is the fighting like interesting enough, or like intrinsic enough to kind of make people, like gamers, actually excited to actually play this thing? Not just almost, is it too simple, or is there actually stuff to do? And yeah, the fighting is really good. And each character, you can tell why they aren't expanding as quickly as maybe some want with like new characters, because they have to hone in each character's moves and how they work and all that stuff. So you can tell why this game took so long to make, why each character, has all these different skills and stuff, and works pretty smoothly. And I'm actually really excited to see what kind of the differences are when we get the actual game on day one and open it up and be like, all right, how's this look? And maybe even the multiplayer things and the missions and stuff like that. Like, I wonder if there'll be differences and more. Yeah, there'll obviously be a lot more. So yeah, really exciting. This beta has definitely got me hooked on actually getting the game in September. So very excited. It's been a really fun time playing it.
Yes. Really quick, hopping into the comments. Ryan Permerson is giving me grief for not wearing my suit today. You're right. It is unacceptable, but I didn't want to wear the suit. I don't have an excuse. That's just it. Ryan Permerson. Ooh, this is kind of a spicy web hot take. Where's my Incredible Hulk sequel? That's what I want.
Wow.
Okay. I do vibe with that. I would love a Mark Ruffalo Hulk solo movie.
Yeah, but it's that whole Universal deal.
Yeah, we won't get it, but I'll take a Hulk TV show, even though I don't think they can do that either. But they can. Well, they're doing She-Hulk.
Yeah,
so technically they could do a Hulk show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would prefer a show, because then we get more of the dichotomy, and we get. Anyways,
they could do a Spider-Man show if they wanted.
They can do a Spider-Man show, and I'm waiting for them to pull that trigger hard. Ryan Permerson said, coming soon, Black Widow on Disney Plus for $35. With theaters open, I don't really give a crap about it then. Although I probably would buy it. I'd probably split it with people that I share my account with, just so that I can watch it a lot more than Yeah,
that's what we said last week. It's like, okay, sure, I'd go to the theater, go see it, and then buy it on Disney if it was Black Widow. But we're fiends for the MCU. So
yeah, it's because I need them. I need them drugs, and that's why I got this game. And I special ordered the deluxe edition.
Oh, cool! What does it come with?
Stuff I don't actually remember off the top of my head. I know it comes with like black and gold suits.
Cool.
For everyone, so that's going to be very exciting, especially Thor, baby. And on that topic of the DC debates from last night, it was Lex Luthor, Darkseid, and Brainiac that they couldn't use, which I definitely would not have included Darkseid or Brainiac in my team originally anyway, and that's just because I don't know enough about them. You know what I do know enough about, David?
What do you know enough about? The
wars in the stars, baby. I know so much about the Star Wars that when I watched this movie earlier this week,
I
was like, okay, and
Yeah, it's okay. So we're doing it. Trilogy of Trilogies. We're starting the OG Star Wars trilogy with Star Wars: A New Hope, originally titled just Star Wars, as we all know. Release date May 25th, 1977, with a runtime of 2 hours and 1 minute long. I'll get kicked off. I watched it this morning. I think Ryan pointed that out earlier that I was, doing it last minute, but I like to do that because it's really fresh in my head then. I watched it pretty casually, I will say. I will definitely admit. I turned it on. I'm watching it, beginning of C-3PO and R2 and Leia and Vader. And I'm like, yeah, I've seen this movie a lot, and it's nothing against it. I really enjoy this movie. I will say, just kind of start off with, because we're diving into this trilogy now, is typically my order for this trilogy is 2, 3, 1. I'm a big in this trilogy. I mean,
yeah, I got you. 5, 6, 4.
5,
for
6,
those
4.
of us that are confused.
Yes, 5, 6, 4. Anyway, so I will say that this has been my least favorite of the original trilogy, but it's I still love it, and it was a really fun movie to watch. But I'm also, I think, a Return of the Jedi defender a lot of the times compared to some other people. I really like that movie a lot, and this movie, it's fun. It was honestly just today. I wasn't really watching it with this really careful eye. I was more watching it in the mindset of it's so cool. It all started with this, This is what it started with. Just going with the cantina. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. They need to make this. They need to make this exact thing at Disney because it'd be such a cool place to go if they had that to go into and stuff. And anyway, it's just it was really enjoyable to watch. It's first impressions of just rewatching it. Really fun to watch. Harrison Ford is just such a joy in this movie to me. I love him. I love Han in this movie so much. I think it's probably my favorite, maybe Han performance. Maybe. I think he's just the most snarky in this one. Yeah. It's pure Han. We're not getting him I think maybe a little watered down from all the it's when he doesn't believe in the Force and all these other things. It's super, super good. Leia, I think this 1977 film, and Leia is such a strong character in this. I love that. And I think it's cool seeing how her whole arc's gone, throughout all these movies, even throughout 7, 8, 9. And I mean, shout out to Mark Hamill as Luke. He's so young in this movie. I love the feeling where, especially coming off of the sequel trilogy, where he's such an old grumbling guy, at least in in episode 8, where this is back and he's just this young guy. And how dark is that when Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru are dead and you see the skeletons? I always forget just how dark that is. So yeah, really fun. Vader is my favorite characters in fiction of all time. So I always eat up everything Vader. I texted Thomas when I was watching the beginning of the film, which is such a cool thing with how Disney's played this. Is literally when I was watching the beginning of the movie, I'm like, I really wish I had just watched the beginning or the ending of Rogue One. Because the open roll, it's such a cool. Just a quick aside, shout out to Rogue One for being such a cool way of handling a side story where it's literally a paragraph in the opening scroll is the plot of the movie. It's the main point of Rogue One, and it's awesome the connection between those two movies, and you feel it in this film, even just the way it's shot. It is funny. I think this is obviously the most, I'd say, crudely shot Star Wars film, just because it's the technology wasn't quite there yet with a lot of the stuff. And even the part where Obi-Wan slices off the arm and there's blood, which is typically not a thing we see. Yeah. And it's what? So it's just, you can tell there's some things that, George Lucas started to kind of, I guess, straighten out the wrinkles in Star Wars and canon and stuff. But there's so much good stuff. I love Obi-Wan and Luke. I love, I think listening to it and watching it with all the context we have from the prequels and Clone Wars and how cool they've made, that they've gone in the future and made these movies about the past and how it really does tie together and how this is kind of that moment this is kind of the pivot point in all of Star Wars fiction. Yes. From what we've seen, where it goes from, I think even if you're looking up Star Wars, I forget what they used the years or the timing by, anyway, it's the Battle of Yavin, I think. Yes. But yeah,
that's the that was the original timeline breakdown. Is the Battle of Yavin is how they graded everything, and now it's whatever the First Order crap is. I don't remember it now.
Me neither. Anyway, it's a great movie. It swings us into like it's awesome. This is the first one that was ever made. You can tell by watching it. It just seems a little older. And there's even like there was one joke that stuck out to me when Han's like, it was just like so campy when they're in the trash compactor and he's like, well, we're sure going to be, or at least one thing will be a lot thinner. And I'm just like, that seems so random for a Star Wars film. But anyway, it doesn't take itself too seriously as we've seen some other Star Wars films. But I think because this is before there was all the fan lore and like all the like crazy fans that like are so detail oriented, there's a certain charm and fun to it. I think that we don't get, and especially the next one, where it's I love Empire, but it's just not as fun of a film, I would say. But I just love that movie. And anyway, I really enjoyed watching it. Spiel's over. Thomas, what did you think you were watching for whatever at the time?
You know, when watching the opening crawl, I could only think of what the original crawl was, which was like 7 paragraphs. Like before a bunch of people told, this is before they released the movie, when he just had a rough cut and it was like 3.5 hours long. Yeah, and it was horrible. All I could think of was like how he basically had so much exposition out in the front, and all of the exposition did was tell you everything you needed to know, and then you didn't ever learn it again.
Yeah.
It was just like, here's a synopsis of this universe. But in this, it's telling you what you need to know, what you need to expect for this story in this film, and it throws you right into the midst of everything, which I really found was fantastic. Leia is the only main character that I can find that is actually shot by a stormtrooper. And it is in this movie, she's stunned. And then the door scene in Return of the Jedi, she gets caught on the shoulder. Yep. So what I'm hearing is stormtroopers can only hit women.
And it's funny, we get that line in this movie where Obi-Wan's like, oh, like the precision of a Imperial stormtrooper or whatever.
The Imperial stormtroopers are so precise.
Yeah. It's like what?
I have a question for you. First. Han shot first. Everybody knows Han shot first, and I'll defend that. Solo told everyone Han shot first.
Yep.
I have a question for you, David. When Vader speaks, do you hear Anakin Skywalker underneath everything?
I try to, but I can't.
Really?
Yeah, can you? Because it's funny. It's actually so funny you say that, because today, that's like one thing that's always bothered me, because James Earl Jones is voicing Vader, and I'm like, I wish it sounded like Hayden Christensen, like just a little bit. And I can't. I just can't. I mean, maybe if I could, like the Clone Wars version, I could maybe hear, but like the Hayden Christensen version, it's just, just the way he delivered his lines. It's like, I don't know. It doesn't bother me, because in my head, they're kind of two different characters, almost in a sense. I mean, they're the same character, but like I can, divide them in my head. And with all everything that's happened, I can like piece together in my head, like, oh, his voice would be different, and now he's very cool, calm, and collected. Especially when we get to episode 4. Like, if we're talking about just Star Wars like lore, it would almost make more sense if, near closer to the end of episode 3, he would sound a bit more like Anakin, like Annie. But now that we're like years later in episode 4, 5, 6, it makes sense that he's like kind of changed, and he's so. I love how there's that whole like divide with like he's such a defender of the Force, and he has to defend the Force, and it's so interesting to me because we never see that really, other than in this movie where like the Imperial officers are almost thinking like, oh, he's almost like their silly like clown in a sense, where it's like, oh, this guy that's super powerful and stuff, but he believes in that old religion, and he's just he's so caught up in it, where that's not really how it works in most other movies, where I think because it's so dead, this is like where the Force is most dead, is at the beginning of this movie, like in like the timeline, maybe after episode 6 as well, but like where there's like not a lot of Force users, people don't really know what the Force. We're even getting lines in this movie where we're seeing like Obi-Wan, or no, who is it? I forget where it's like, oh no, I think it was Tarkin maybe saying that he's the like that Vader's the last of his kind that even like uses the Force, where we know that's not true. But it's because no one really knew because it had gotten so small and there was so much less users, Sith and Jedi by this point. But anyway, you think he sounds like Anakin?
I do. And here's why. Especially in the beginning, he's got these moments of it's just like, he's got certain moments. Is like, we know you have the Imperial the plans were beamed to this ship. I know that you have them. It's very straightforward. But if you think about short, and when you think about Anakin in, like, let's say, I'm trying to think. There's like a specific moment where he really digs into the dark side when he's arguing with someone, and it's just like, it's the cadencing. That's the most important thing, is the cadencing.
You know what I think you might be talking about is the scene from episode 2 when he's talking to Padme about how he killed all those people that were, I don't know, after he slaughtered everyone on Tatooine.
Yes, it's when he's saying,
he's like so emotional.
No, actually, what I'm thinking is that scene, but it's for the line where he's calm, cool, and collected as Vader. It's fixing things is always more. It makes life always seem more simpler when I'm using my hands. It's just he's there's like grief in there, and it's how it's cadenced together. But then when find those plans and anyone who's involved, I want them alive.
Yeah,
that I hear when he's angry. He's like, all of them, the women, the children, or, you turned her against me. It's how it's cadenced. So later on, as it goes on and on and on, and, when you listen to some of the stuff that he says, and then you look at Anakin, and when Anakin did it, it was like whimsical and kind of funny. Like, oh, this is just something I think. Oh, you always hate flying, Master. And then, he's got these little quips, but as Vader, it's like, the Force is strong with this one, which is kind of a quip because he doesn't believe the Force is strong with anybody. And then, impressive, most impressive.
Yeah,
there's little bits that just really Anakin vibe up. There was a sentence that I think I wrote down. No, I didn't write it down. But I hear Anakin, especially after, like, when he goes angry as Vader, I really hear it because it's just a voice modulator. It just deepens his voice and it amplifies it. And so you turned her against me. Don't you turn against me as well? I can hear Vader saying that, like, in James Earl Jones' voice.
Right.
And vice versa. And that's one thing that I really do love about this movie is how everything that's come before sprinkles in, and it takes on this new flavor, because I saw this movie at 7 years old and I took everything Obi-Wan / Ben Kenobi said as fact. But watching it again, and this is like the only major point I have on this movie, is Obi-Wan Kenobi the entire time is selling propaganda to Luke.
Yeah.
I say again, ladies and gents, ladies and gents, he's selling propaganda to Luke Skywalker this whole time. It is all a farce. It's all a fallacy.
What do you mean by that, though? The Force?
Not the Force. He gives him the Cliff Notes version of the Force.
He does sell him a bunch of lies about the past. About the past,
exactly, and how they got to the point that they were, and it's the best part about it, though, is the way he does it, and it's amazing how it lines up so well. Alec Guinness plays it super awkward, which is like, oh, I don't want to tell him that. I don't want to tell him his father died or this, that, or the other. It could have been his mindset, but now it's like, I can't tell him that he's Vader. So your father was killed by one who was seduced by the dark side of the Force. And, that from a certain point of view, and ironically, what you mentioned earlier is you separate Vader and Anakin. So does Anakin. Yeah. Vader is a new character, and in his mind, he calls his past version of himself the Jedi. and he talks crap about himself all the time in the comics, which adds a nice little nuance to the difference and how he's compartmentalized his good and his evil side of his self. You know, his light and dark, very compartmentalized.
Oh man! Also, shout out really quick. I got to read that new Darth Vader comic. That issue 1 came out on Marvel Unlimited. It's like it takes place right after episode 5, which sounds awesome. So anyway, quick side.
Yeah, I think issue 4 came out, and I have all 4, so I'm waiting to hop into it. I think I'm gonna wait a couple more months before I get about half an issue or half a run in, but. One of my favorite things about this movie and when it comes to Obi-Wan is when they're in the cantina and he says, oh, yeah, it'll be 10,000 credits. And Luke's like, 10,000 credits? For that, we could buy our own ship. Yeah, and who'd fly it? I'm not such a bad pilot myself,
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan just looks over and smirks and is just like, now. We'll give you 7 now and the rest after you drop us off in Alderaan. Yeah. That smirk, I don't know why that's there, but all I see is him going, he's got too much of his father in him.
Yeah, and I like that. I love that part earlier with Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru saying that same thing, where it's like he can't just be this farmer boy. He has too much of it in him. He looks to the stars. And
always staring at the horizon, you are. Young Skywalker. Always staring at the horizon.
Yeah. I will say one thing, just like a random aside, is watching this movie made me kind of appreciate Rey's character a little less creatively. It's almost like they copied they borrowed a lot. And it was funny. I saw this IGN list the other day on Instagram of like top 25 Force users. They had Rey like 22. I'm like, dang, I like Rey. I'm a big Reylo person, so I like Kylo more, but I like them together. So like I like Rey to some degree, but it's like, dang, she super random aside from this movie, but like it seemed like she didn't really hit with all like the mainstream and the biggest fans. And it's most people are like most Star Wars fans are like Team Ahsoka over Rey for like a woman Jedi all day.
Just because they had so much more character they had character development. Okay, that was something we talked about yesterday on the Star Wars panel. I'm sorry. Hello there. A Star Wars fan panel at Harlecon was, Rey, the sequel trilogy does not have great character development, which we've briefly touched upon. The character who probably has the most development is Kylo Ren.
Exactly.
Which is, I guess it's an homage to the original trilogy in that, it's when it came out, it's like, oh, this story of Luke Skywalker. And George Lucas was like, no, it's about the redemption of Anakin Skywalker. What are you guys talking about? And it's like, oh, okay, well, okay, that's fair. And
it's about the redemption of Kylo, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's about the redemption of Kylo Ren, the rise of Skywalker. And they really did not do a lot of character development. They tried to shoehorn in some of that, like the dark side stuff for Rey, but there wasn't. It felt forced,
and there was a lot.
Unintended.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and and I think a lot of it in that was there wasn't just like simple story development. That's what I'm saying nowadays with like all the fans and stuff. They love. Something that frustrated me with just the sequel trilogy in general. I actually enjoy the sequel trilogy in general. Personally, I kind of defend it in a way. Like I enjoy watching those films overall as a trilogy. Like I would sit down, have a fun time. But I will say they do too much of just giving us little hints and tips and little like Easter eggs just for the sake of doing it. And I think part of it's because they didn't have the through line story that I think this trilogy did with George Lucas at the helm, or this is just like the sequel trilogy was a little disjointed in between 7, 8, and 9. It's kind of, and we know that because JJ was at the beginning and then Rian Johnson. Then they're like, oh, wait, this movie is extremely divided. Let's go back to JJ. And you see that even in the movie where like now we have, there's a bunch of stuff we get in with that. But anyway,
we have an entire episode 10 weeks ago that covered our thoughts on the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Episode 10. I think it sounds like every 10 episodes we have to have a Star Wars chat.
I think it was, and you know what? Just like this, I think it was a random aside that we just dove into for like 4 minutes.
It was. We argued for a little bit, and we just ended with Kylo is the best character in the whole, and that Finn got shafted.
Yes.
And Poe is there.
And I will say, I think what's maybe almost the greatest positive out of the sequel trilogy is just how conversational they are and how easy it is to discuss and have an opinion on them and be able to just dive into like whatever you want to talk about with them, because there's so much that you can like critique or praise or just want to talk about story-wise, because nowadays it seems like fans have so much more power than maybe they used to. Or I feel like before, fans, you know, like us run this podcast, we can shoot out our thoughts into the internet, when before it's like you sit at home, you read a magazine, and then the movie comes out and you check it out, and it's like, all right, I didn't like that, I did like that. But now it's like everyone, like anyone could come listen to this, listen to anyone on YouTube or wherever, Facebook, and hear like what us as the fans want. And that can be, I feel like that can be difficult, especially in something like Star Wars that has so much fans. And it all started with this movie, which I think is kind of how I said I would watch this movie. It's so fun to think that this whole universe, and there's a little bit of trivia, this little thing. George Lucas was so sure this movie would flop that instead of attending the premiere, he went on vacation to Hawaii with his good friend Steven Spielberg, where they came up with the idea for Raiders of the Lost Ark. So Lucas didn't even have any like confidence the movie would even be a booming success, and now it's become maybe probably the most popular like pop culture, I mean, like movie, I would say, or at least like, you know, set of like pop culture lore, nerd culture in general. So, Thomas, what other notes did you have? If you had any more?
I have a few. Yeah, I didn't write anything down, but obviously the score in this is absolutely amazing. John Williams is an absolute legend. I would, if I had somebody, if someone was like, hey, what composer would you have to like create a life story about you through music? John Williams. And if I can't get John Williams, then I'm probably going to go with Ludwig, the Black Panther and Mandalorian composer, because there's something about him that is just the future. Where
you find that? Oh, do you want to go?
What were you going to say?
I was going to say another little like tidbit that I think is super fascinating that I've read before, but I'm just now rereading it, is how George Lucas took a pay cut so he could in exchange get full merchandising rights, which at the time was like, oh, not a big deal. And now no one gets merchandising rights because they're so lucrative. And it was such like a genius move, because what other movie, honestly, like on earth would you want merchandising rights to than the first Star Wars film?
Yeah, exactly. So I love R2 wanting Luke to like him is beautiful. That's a nice, and I've always wondered about R2. You know, obviously 3PO gets his memory wiped, but I don't think R2 ever does.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think I so either. So he's like, he knows all this, and
he's been there before. He goes into that same hut. He knows it's Luke. Like Luke is like, oh, I'm Luke Skywalker, and he's like, Skywalker.
Yeah,
and there's a little tidbit that I think popped up on Twitter, and I think you sent it to me actually. No, it was TikTok. You sent it to me. And it was about R2. Anytime Luke says R2 stay with the ship, R2 doesn't, because the last time he was told to stay with the ship, it was on Mustafar, and Anakin never came back. And that is the saddest PTSD story for our favorite little droid R2. And pour one out for Annie, bro.
There was a line in this movie where it's like C-3PO is like, oh, we've been through so much. Like he almost R2D2, like R2, he almost like acts kind of like crazy sometimes because of like everything we've seen. And that's just, there's so much little lines in this movie where we've obviously now seen the past, the prequel, and it's like, it's actually impressive, like how many of those little lines he just threw in that became, you know, there actually is now background that we can think about, like everything they've been through, like in the prequel, and them, you know, you find the Clone Wars, you have the whole Clone Wars fully now. Seven, so we have the whole full Clone Wars to like look back and think about. So anyway, very cool stuff. It's just this movie is just the like epicenter of Star Wars in my. It goes forward, and then there's everything in the past, and this is just the middle of it. You know.
Yes, I agree with that sentiment, and how you just compare to that. You know, it's the center. Like everything literally revolves around this movie. Yeah, and you can go interpret things different ways. And someone's always like, how can Obi-Wan say that he doesn't remember R2D2, like blah blah blah? And the exact phrasing is, I don't ever seem to remember owning a droid. And the very next shot is a reaction shot to R2, and R2's like, you son of a bitch. It's like, you didn't own me, like, and it's like war veterans being sly the whole time about their confidentiality.
And I think, if I remember correctly, kind of in Empire, when we see Obi-Wan return as the Force Ghost, he's way less like senile acting. He's so much more like real with Luke in a way. Mm-hmm. Like it's almost like a whole different performance by Alex Guinness. I gotta remember it exactly. Tomorrow, next week we'll watch it and we'll find out. But I kind of remember like the tone of just Obi-Wan in general kind of switching to the fully like Jedi Obi-Wan, where in this movie we're getting a lot more of like the Ben, like old Ben Kenobi mixed with Obi-Wan.
That's done on purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, from a character standpoint, it is, he's trying to maintain his secrecy and do what the Force needs him to do. And with Luke, he's playing it, instead of like, I know all this stuff, he's like what happened with Anakin. It's, I'm crazy, I'm this, so that when he dies, he's like, no, and he's less attached to him. Yeah. Like, I needed him, and it's very much how it's done. Yeah, that works so well. And speaking of Obi-Wan and R2, that moment, which is my last note that I even took, but I have one more thing I'm going to say after this.
Sure.
When he says that R2 should plug into the computer, and he says he should be able to read the schematics of this starship. And he looks at, like, the way he's looking at R2 is just like, it's just like a simple nod and wink to the fans. And right. The fact that they did that,
this well before.
In 1977,
right? That's
before
what I'm saying.
All of this is just beautiful, and how it works. And my note is, Obi-Wan knows R2 the whole time on a different level. And what's another important thing is that leads to everything in the sequel trilogy, the map of Skywalker.
Yeah,
that moment.
Yeah, this makes me think of, just in general, like, there was so much hate about the prequels, and they're not perfect. Everyone knows that. Like, episode 3, I think, is the moments in that are the best of the prequel trilogy, in my opinion. And I think in most of people's opinion, that's just kind of the best one. And they're not perfect. There's a lot that's wrong with them. I think George Lucas went a little crazy with the CGI. I think just the directing and the scripting wasn't always the best. But there is something that I think we might be missing nowadays with Lucas, where there was such a plan we see. And in all these movies, like, there is a through line. Like I said earlier, there maybe is some things like the bloody arm where he's figuring it out. But once he got it going, like, there's these little things where, like, these little nods that were in 1977 that we're again getting, that we're seeing actually be in fruition in 2005 when Revenge of the Sith comes out. So anyway, I just think there is almost part of me where I wish Lucas had some sort of creative control still over there at Disney and Lucasfilm. He sold, obviously he sold his company over to Disney, but in the sequel trilogy, it's almost something we're missing, where it's like, there's this huge sandbox. Talking about sandboxes earlier of Star Wars, and they can do whatever they want with it. And they've had a hit with Mandalorian, but I think that the trilogy, the end of the Skywalker saga, I think most people weren't like the greatest fans of, and I enjoyed it. I think it could have been better. And I think some of those things where, I don't know, we can get on to this forever, but you know what I mean? I think there's something about Lucas is like vision that I think might be missing now. And I think we're almost seeing it more in Mandalorian a bit.
Yes.
Ryan with the hot take says 3 is bad. I don't like 2. I think 2 is bad, but I know you love 3.
I absolutely love 3. I love a lot of stuff from 3. I'm not going to say the thing I like the most from 3, but it's definitely evil. Also like that lightsaber fight in 3 is just so. Yeah. There's a couple parts that I hated when I was younger, but now I love it because it's just showing how mirrored Anakin and Obi-Wan are. In terms of, the plan, everyone's always like, oh, George Lucas had this plan of how everything was going to work, and that's why it connects so well. And it's like, well, he had an idea of where he wanted to go. And then he just kind of moved it along the path and is like, okay, I have some sprinkling ideas. Let's see if I can do this and that and tie it in here and there. Whereas in the sequel trilogy, they had the idea of where they wanted to go. But then they're like, well, we'll let you do creative control. And then we'll just figure it out after, which is the opposite of what Marvel does. It's just like, here's beats I need you to include, even if it's just a scene, because it's going to lead to this. But I want you to make everything that you can to make this movie the best it can while still fitting inside of this box.
That's exactly what I was thinking when you were saying that. They're missing the fight to just connect all the dots.
And this is going to be the hill that I die on.
Here we go.
This is going to be the sand dune, the sand crawler that I die on for this entire trilogy and the prequel trilogy and the sequel trilogy. Whenever we cover those, give Dave Filoni creative control over the universe of Star Wars in the same essence that Kevin Feige is. Everyone's like, well, we need someone to connect it. I would love Kevin Feige, but Dave Filoni sleeps and breathes Star Wars. He was hand selected by George Lucas himself. And I think it was 2005 when they first started meeting to create the Clone Wars, and learned from George Lucas the first 6 seasons of Star Wars. And when Mandalorian was created, Jon Favreau, who worked on Clone Wars as a voice and as a director, I don't know about the director part. I could be wrong, but I think he's a guest director on a couple episodes. But he brought in Dave Filoni because he knew Filoni was the man, because he'd worked with him. He knew the love, and he needed somebody who at any point he could be like, hey, what do you think about this? And Dave, and the best thing about Dave Filoni is that he's so much in personality like George Lucas, except he's a little less jaded.
Yeah.
And I only say jaded because I don't know how to describe Lucas. He's just like, yeah. It's his creation. So I think he's got this like humble humility about him where he's like, I mean, it is what it is. But Dave Filoni is just a fan who loves it with every ounce of his passion and his self. And he's willing to be like, oh my God, I love that. Like, let's do this. And it could lead to this and lead to that. And that's why he should be in charge of the Star Wars universe. And I think that's where they're going. He's basically in charge of Mandalorian. And if you watch Disney Gallery, you see how there is no Mandalorian without Dave Filoni. Literally, he's so important to the volume and the animation side of it that he's so crucial. And that's what they're going to do with Kenobi. And they're rumoring all these new live action shows.
We're getting the Taika Waititi movie.
Exactly.
That's someone from Mandalorian. I think they might be making good moves now where they're seeing, hey, Mandalorian is doing really well with audiences. Let's keep picking off that and maybe branch off that with creators. And so maybe that is what you're saying. I love the idea of Filoni taking over in some sense.
And Clone Wars season 7 was Dave Filoni flexing on everybody, baby. He was like, hey, remember that time when Disney canceled us? Boom, bow, wapoo, we're back, baby.
I mean, the last 4 episodes, man.
Oh my God.
We went over them.
Can we get a petition going to put the Siege of Mandalore in movie, like in a theater? Please.
Yeah.
And Bad Batch is coming out, and Dave Filoni is involved with that. Like,
right.
He did Rebels. He is literally the only thing that has been consistently amazing in Star Wars at every junction that he's done it.
We didn't mention the Ahsoka Disney Plus show, possibly.
Yeah, exactly. And if anyone's going to be in charge of that, it's obviously going to be Filoni.
Yeah, exactly. I know. It's like they need to. I think he needs to. He's going to be controlling all these TV things. Like, why just TV at this point? I mean, I don't know how it works over there. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy's like the one in charge, but I don't know. We'll see. He's
the encyclopedia of Star Wars, and that's why he should be in control. In the sense of that wouldn't happen. Or, like that doesn't make sense, and here's why. But he's also the kind of guy be like, but you can take and do this with it.
Yeah.
And mingle them together and get like a nice, nice middle ground to make it all work.
It is funny.
Like Feige does. And I think that's why.
Yeah. It was funny. Like almost a year ago or something, Feige was rumored to be going over to Star Wars. Like there was like this, I remember reading this editorial article, I forget on what website, where this big thing where they're thinking that Feige is going to shift to Star Wars and basically ditch the MCU. It didn't happen. It was before Comic-Con, before he came out and did like the whole MCU spiel. But there's that whole, Feige did though have a change of role where now he's overseeing not only the movies but the comics as well at Marvel. And that includes Star Wars comics. So that's part of it. And I think Feige leading a helping hand, or maybe some of his team helping over at Star Wars, wouldn't be a bad idea, because that's where he is at his best, is, you know, connect the interconnection of stuff. Like we see it in the MCU. That's why it makes it so great. Like not everyone's Kevin Feige who actually can think that well, and give directors, like as we've been saying, the right amount of creative control. I think that's where they kind of missed the mark with the sequel trilogies, is because they gave them the wrong amount of creative control. It's like, do all this, but make sure you keep. I think it's also because they didn't have this through line plan as well thought out as maybe they thought they did. And the power of fans. Like there's just, I think they almost listen too much. I think sometimes now in Hollywood, people listen too much to fans in a way, because everyone's got an opinion, like everyone, and people are louder than others. But I'm sick of sometimes of people being so reactionary. I think that's part of what, I mean, I was not a big Last Jedi guy, but I almost think what they did with the episode 9 was a bit too reactionary to like the backlash of The Last Jedi in a sense.
Why is Dominic Monaghan in that fracking movie? Literally, that tertiary character could be given all of his lines, all 10 of them could be given to Rose, who's needed because she's smart and needs to help. I don't remember what she says because she has one fracking line in the movie, but she's got to help and understand this. Why would she not have this this knowledge of all this stuff? Who the hell is Dominic? What is his character's name? We're not going to go down that lane. So we're not going to get angry.
Star Wars: A New Hope.
Star Wars: A New. And here's my hope when it comes to Feige. I hope that Feige is just going to go over and be like, look, this is how we do it.
Here's our game.
This is how we do it. I've got the big building blocks of a long-term story.
Yeah.
And if you have that, then you can create all of this. He's in charge of comics, overseeing all of that stuff, which is Star Wars, and they have that Star Wars story group. And so the High Republic will be the first chance for them to work in that model of, these are our big beats, these are our characters, this is how we can flesh out this universe with all of these different mediums. And maybe all of that will get so big that leads to a movie in that. Maybe Taika Waititi's working in the High Republic.
Yeah, and
maybe
is actually a little what the news is. There was some rumor popping up right before we went live that they want to develop Ben Solo more in some form or fashion, a series or something. I mean, there is the Kylo Ren comic, and he was a very successful character, I think, in the movies, like as we've talked about, like popularity and just character development wise. I'd like to see it. I don't know if we're actually gonna get Adam Driver back or anything, but that was a little rumor that was floating out. So there's so much like that with Star Wars right now, because they're in such a transitional phase after ending the sequel trilogy and the Skywalker saga, where it's like, where are they going from here and what are they doing? And anyway, back to where it all started.
I just have one final note, and I don't know how this is going to wrap us up in any way, but it's something that it was just another little cute blink and you miss it metaphor, analogy, correlation, speculation, whatever, any of that. So Luke, when it's like, oh, you need to sell, right before they get into the Millennium Falcon, they've agreed to do this thing. And Obi-Wan's like, you're going to need to sell your speeder to help us get the money. He goes, that's all right. I'm never coming back to this planet again. And the very next scene is Han Solo being held up by Greedo, who's working for Jabba the Hutt. And why does Luke come back to Tatooine? To save Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt.
Yep.
And this is the first time I've ever noticed that weird little it's like a weird foreshadowing that you don't realize is foreshadowing.
Yeah, that's really funny. I didn't even like think about it that way.
And what I love is how they start off at odds in that scene right before. They're not friends. They're at each other's throats a little bit, but yet that is the man he's going to come back to Tatooine for and save his life.
Yeah.
That is what makes Star Wars great. Because I've watched this movie for 21 years, never noticed it until Tuesday night. Like, and I got goosebumps when I recognized that. I was like, what a weird little nuance of storytelling. Yeah. David, how do you think? No, what were we gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think like where this trilogy, from what I can, remember, I've seen these movies a lot. We're gonna watch them each weekend, obviously, but like in this movie specifically, they do a great job with developing character, and you see it a lot in there where it's not just. Lines aren't just throwaway lines, like as almost like we saw in Back to the Future 1, where it's like a lot of every scene or every line like meant something. It wasn't just like there to be there to push along the story. It was there because it was the story and it needed to be there and everything. So anyway, how do I rank this one?
Yeah, like what would you give this movie out of 10 or 5 stars?
Ooh, mixing it up.
Yeah,
I'm typically not good at this kind of stuff. I mean,
either.
Yeah, I know. We never do it because I feel like we're both pretty bad at it. Stars wise, I like doing it out of 5. I'd give it a 4. I mean, it's not like my favorite Star Wars movie, but it's like we said, it's fun, it's good, it sets everything up, it begins the Star Wars lore that we know today, and it's funny. I like the way I've kind of set that up in my mind now. Speaking on it is how it's like the center of the Star Wars kind of universe, storyline wise, timeline wise, where a lot before it and there's some after it, but it is kind of in the center there where it is like the pivotal point. I mean, there is in like Legends and stuff, there's a lot before it, I guess, if you want like the balance of it anyway. Yeah. But so Thomas, out of 5 stars, what would you say, sir?
I'd probably have to give it a 4 as well. A 4 for 4. 4 for 4. Yeah. 4 for 4. It's so good. It is so much fun. And of note that I didn't write down, and I'm really upset about it. I wanted to talk about the lightsaber duel between Vader and Anakin, and how
Vader and Obi-Wan.
Thank you. My bad. I wanted to like discuss that a little bit and how it's weirdly, but I think we'll say that for next time if we remember. But on that, all I really wanted to say was, even though the choreography is weak. And it's weak because it was the first time they did it and they had a different mindset for it. But in the universe, Obi-Wan is toying with Vader the entire time. And Vader, in some way, because of his over-eagerness, I have the high ground, Anakin. He was baiting him to do that. Yeah. Which we've discussed. So that he could get the low ground and take out Anakin because he's the king of low ground. Oh, Obi-Wan. So in this case, Obi-Wan is baiting him in another way, and Vader knows that he doesn't want to be baited into doing something rash like the last time. Yeah. And that's why it's such a bad fight. And really, it's just toying with each other until that moment where he's like, boom, that's what I need. I need to see Luke. I need Luke to see me disappear and die so that then I can come back and will him on with the Force. 4 stars, the Force, the Star Wars, all of that. David, it's time to close this up. Where can everyone find you on the social medias?
Yeah, you guys can find me at my name, David Thompson, on Facebook, David J. Thompson on TikTok and Instagram, and David Thompson with 2 A's on Twitter. Thomas, what about you?
Thomas Carter Rochester -actor on Facebook, at Thomas Carter Rochester, all one word, no hyphens, no spaces, on Instagram, at Thor Son of Dale on TikTok, RIP, at TC Rochester Act, that is TC Rochester ACT on the Twitter, and of course, Life of Thor. You can search for Thor Watches the Mandalorian Season 1, and you can watch it and enjoy it. Fun fact, I'm debating on making Thor Watches the Mandalorian a live thing. Ooh. For this new season, just because it'll make it a little easier for time. And I'm thinking I'll watch, like episode 1, I'll watch the new episode right before episode 2 comes out, the day before. I'm thinking on it. I might do a test run with a couple episodes of The Mandalorian to see, because it'll basically be a watch along
Right.
Which is not going to be as much fun and as funny as a 10-minute gimmick. So we'll see.
You could always, you could always do the live thing and then like go back and trim it and make it like that kind of tighter 10 minutes later.
I could. You are correct. But then that would just be even more time.
That'd just be a lot of work.
So it's like, that's where I'm weighing on it back and forth.
Yeah.
You can also find our podcast/show on Facebook at Lights Thunder Action Show. You can also find us on the HWWS WebTV YouTube channel, where we have a host of other amazing content creators that you can learn about, including Ryan Permison of Nerd Culture and Willow Schuyler of Willow's Pillow Talk, as well as LTA. You can find us on Twitter at LTA Podcasting as an action verb, ing. David, what do you have to promote this upcoming week, good sir?
So you guys already know, if you watch the show all the time, you hear me promote it every week. My other podcast, which is just an audio podcast, it's called Double Down Debates. I normally talk NFL, a lot of NBA. I'm a big sports guy, other than obviously doing this show and being all into movies. I love sports. That is my other podcast. You guys can check it out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It is Double Down Debates. Thomas, what about you?
I probably have a lot more that I need to promote, but really I want to announce to everyone August 25th, David and I will be hosting our second interview ever. Yep. And it'll be with Melinda M. Snodgrass, who is a writer, and she wrote for Star Trek The Next Generation, as well as a host of other things that I now am forgetting. I am so sorry about that, but I did not have it in the show notes. I thought I did. Must have been in the other version of the show notes. We believe it'll be around 7 Eastern on that Tuesday, and it's going to be a wonderful time. We're focusing just on her, and we will figure out if we're going to do a DC Fandome news that night after or on its own segment, because there's going to be a lot of news from the fandom, so it needs its own episode.
We're fluid right now. We'll figure it out.
We are fluid like the Force. It surrounds us, it binds us, it penetrates us. And you know what else penetrates us? The ending. Oh, I'm sorry. That was wrong. Empire Strikes Back. Crap. I read the wrong thing. Empire Strikes Back will be next week, ladies and gentlemen. It's my favorite one. I won't even lie about it at all.
Very exciting. This is kind of like when we did Batman, the Dark Knight trilogy. It's like, hey, this first one was good. I like New Hope better than I like Batman Begins, but the second one is the best. So very excited. Yeah.
This has a much better third act than Batman Begins.
Oh my gosh.
100
third act.
Way better. Which, when we talk about final acts, remind me that we got to talk about JJ next week, because
sounds good.
I have questions. This has been episode 20 of Lights Thunder Action. We will catch you all next week. Thank you for joining us. We love you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.